Good morning, Mr. Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Education. Last week, the government announced the next steps in their review of anti-black racism at the Peel District School Board. Many in our black communities were frustrated to hear that neither of the reviewers are black. Black community members are once again forced to commit to the emotional and intellectual labor of educating non-black viewers on what anti-black racism looks like, rather than have the opportunity the minister promised them to disclose their experiences and have solutions presented to them by experts with lived experience, Mr. Speaker. The lived experience, for example, of being disproportionately streamed as black children out of academic classes. Previous reviews, like the review of the roots of youth violence, Dr. Carl James' We Rise Together, and many more, Stephen Lewis's report on race relations, have centered black reviewers.
Question.
Minister, why did the government fail to appoint a black reviewer to a review that is supposed to look at anti-black racism within the Peel District School Board? Thank you.
Minister of Education.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It is the government's commitment to ensure that every child in Ontario, particularly in Peel, feels safe, welcomed and respected. It's why, upon the issues being raised by the community, by members of the black community in Peel, as well as the chair and vice chair of the board, among others, we took immediate action to call in a review. The two individuals we've called in, Edna Chada, who is an experienced human rights lawyer, an educator, an investigator, and mediator. She actually worked, Mr. Speaker, as Vice Chair of the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario. We trust her judgment to lead this process, relying on the lived experiences of families and children and educators impacted. Suzanne Herbert, who is a former deputy minister, but as well as someone that worked on helped lead the review of the York Region District School Board on a similar, although different, issue about anti-black racism in schools. We denounce it. We stand with families and parents, and as well, I'll be leaning on one of my associate deputy ministers, Patrick Case, the ADM for Education Equity Secretariat, to lead the way in ensuring that these boards end these practices and every child feels respected in Peel.
Supplementary.
Mr. Speaker, what I've just heard is that the government could not find two qualified black professionals with lived experience to review the Peel District School Board. That is shameful. Mr. Speaker, parents, students and educators have been contacting our offices concerned that this government is not taking anti-black racism and discrimination in our schools seriously. The exclusion of black reviewers, Minister, from the PDSB review is shocking. Michael Jean, former Governor General, stated that the lack of a black reviewer is, quote, not only an offence but totally counterproductive, Mr. Speaker. And Dave Doyen says that in the absence of the inclusion of a qualified member from the black community, this review will not enjoy credibility, Mr. Speaker. Will the minister correct his decision, please, and appoint a black reviewer to the Peel District School Board review as a lived and professional expert on anti-black racism? Yes or no?
Ask the members to please take their seats. The Minister of Education to reply.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We are absolutely committed to combat these very serious allegations of systemic racism within our schools in Peel Region and in all boards across the province. The allegations are serious. It's why, upon hearing about them directly from parents and students and educators and administrators, we took immediate action to call in reviewers. One of the reviewers is the same reviewer that helped us under the former government, but helped the York Region Board deal with systemic issues of discrimination. My Associate Deputy Minister, the Education Equity Secretary, Patrick Case, is a leader within the black community, is a human rights lawyer, is a person of impeccable integrity who's committed to work with both reviewers to ensure accountability, to ensure those young people's voices are heard. In fact, I met with members of the Peel Region Board, both trustees and students just last week with members of the Peel Caucus in our government to listen firsthand about the allegations. They are disturbing, and it is why, Mr. Speaker, we are acting swiftly to ensure there is transformational change in Peel.